Hello, friends. Today, we're going to tell you the thrilling story of how the dollar became the most influential currency in the world. This journey takes us through economic crises, wars, and brilliant strategies. You'll learn how a piece of paper managed to control entire countries. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button so you don't miss any interesting videos. Chapter 1. The Great Depression and the Gold Standard. Let's start with the Great Depression. In 1929, the US economy collapsed. Imagine, millions of people lost their jobs, banks closed one after another, and the stock market crashed. It was a nightmare for the whole country. The US government decided to tie the dollar to gold. This was called the gold standard. What does that mean? Each dollar was backed by a certain amount of gold. If you had a dollar, you could exchange it for gold. This helped restore people's trust in money, as gold was always seen as reliable and valuable. Before 1933, Americans could freely exchange dollars for gold. But during the Great Depression, the government banned private ownership of gold to stabilize the economy. People had to exchange their gold for dollars. Imagine you collected gold coins, and then you were told you had to turn them into a bank. Let's take a closer look at what the Great Depression was and how it affected the world. Great Depression began in 1929 with the crash of the US stock market. Within days, millions of people lost their savings, and companies lost their capital. This led to a wave of bankruptcies and mass unemployment. The US economy plunged into a deep crisis that spread worldwide. The US government took several measures to combat the crisis, one of which was the introduction of the gold standard. This meant that each dollar was backed by a certain amount of gold. If you had a dollar, you could exchange it for gold. This helped restore people's trust in money, as gold was always seen as reliable and valuable. Gold standard is a monetary system in which a country's currency is backed by gold reserves. This means that each dollar could be exchanged for gold at a fixed rate. Introducing the gold standard helped stabilize the economy and restore people's trust in money. Before 1933, Americans could freely exchange dollars for gold. But during the Great Depression, the government banned private ownership of gold to stabilize the economy. People had to exchange their gold for dollars. Imagine you collected gold coins, and then you were told you had to turn them into a bank. This step was necessary for the government to control the amount of gold in the country and use it to support the economy. Introducing the gold standard helped stabilize the economy and restore people's trust in money. Chapter 2. World War I and the Bretton Woods system. Now let's move to 1944. World War I was coming to an end, and the leaders of the Allied countries gathered in a small town called Bretton Woods. Their task was simple: to rebuild the global economy. How to do this? They decided that all major currencies would be tied to the dollar, and the dollar would be tied to gold. This became the foundation of the Bretton Woods system. Why the dollar? Because the US economy was the most powerful and stable after the war. Other countries saw the dollar as a reliable and stable currency. The Bretton Woods system helped restore international trade and made the dollar the world's main currency. It was like creating a new global game where the dollar was the main currency, and all other currencies played by its rules. Let's take a closer look at what the Bretton Woods system was and how it affected the global economy. The Bretton Woods system is an international monetary system created in 1944 at a conference in Bretton Woods, USA. The main goal of the system was to stabilize the global economy after World War I and restore international trade. Key principles of the Bretton Woods system. 1. Most countries' currencies were tied to the US dollar. 2. The US dollar was tied to gold at a rate of $35 per ounce. 3. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) was created to oversee currency exchange rates and provide financial assistance to countries with balance of payments deficits. Advantages of the Bretton Woods system. 1. Stability of currency exchange rates promoted the development of international trade and investments. 2. Countries' currency reserves were maintained through dollars and gold, which strengthened trust in currencies. 3. The IMF provided financial support to countries facing difficulties. Disadvantages of the Bretton Woods system. 1. Limited flexibility of exchange rates created problems when economic conditions changed. 2. The US was in a privileged position since the dollar became the world's main currency. 3. Accumulating large dollar reserves by other countries led to a gold shortage in the US. The Bretton Woods system helped restore international trade and made the dollar the world's main currency. It was like creating a new global game where the dollar was the main currency and all other currencies played by its rules. Hit the like button if you enjoy learning new facts about money and the economy. Chapter 3. Nixon and the end of the gold standard. Now let's move to 1971. President Richard Nixon made a surprising announcement. The US would no longer exchange dollars for gold. Why? Because America had printed too many dollars, and there wasn't enough gold to cover them. It was like playing a game where all the rules suddenly changed. This step shocked global markets. But you know what? Gradually, countries adapted to the new reality, and the dollar remained the world's main currency. Nixon's decision marked the beginning of a new era in the global financial system. Let's take a closer look at why Nixon made this decision and what consequences it had. Nixon's decision in 1971. US President Richard Nixon announced the end of dollar convertibility to gold. This marked the end of the gold standard and the beginning of a new era in the global financial system. Why did Nixon make this decision? 1. Gold shortage. The US had printed too many dollars, and there wasn't enough gold to cover them. 2. Rising inflation. The US economy faced rising inflation, and the government sought ways to address this problem. 3. Pressure on the dollar. Other countries began demanding the exchange of dollars for gold, putting additional pressure on the US economy. Consequences of Nixon's decision. 1. Floating exchange rates. After the gold standard was abolished, currencies began to float freely relative to each other. This meant that exchange rates could change depending on supply and demand in the market. 2. New financial system. A new era began in the global financial system where the dollar remained the world's main currency, but without being tied to gold. 3. Increased volatility. Floating exchange rates led to increased volatility in financial markets, creating new challenges for investors and governments. Nixon's decision marked the beginning of a new era in the global financial system. It was like suddenly changing all the game rules, and players had to adapt to the new conditions. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new exciting stories. Chapter 4. Petrodollars. And the dollar was no longer backed by gold, but the US found a new way to strengthen its position. They agreed with Saudi Arabia and other OPEC countries that oil would be sold only for dollars. This meant that if a country wanted to buy oil, it first had to buy dollars. This strengthened the dollar and ensured its steady demand in the global market. This agreement became the foundation of the petrodollar system, which still operates today. Thus, the dollar retained its leading position in the global economy. Imagine that all the important resources in the world are sold only for your currency. This gives enormous power and control. Let's take a closer look at what petrodollars are and how they affected the global economy. Petrodollars are dollars that countries receive from selling oil. In the 1970s, the US agreed with Saudi Arabia and other OPEC countries that oil would be sold only for dollars. This meant that if a country wanted to buy oil, it first had to buy dollars. Advantages of the petrodollar system. 1. Strengthening the dollar. Countries needing oil had to buy dollars, which strengthened the dollar's position in the global market. 2. Steady demand. Constant demand for oil ensured a steady demand for dollars. 3. Control over the oil market. The US gained control over the global oil market and the ability to influence prices. Disadvantages of the petrodollar system. 1. Dependence on oil. The global economy became dependent on oil and, consequently, on the dollar. 2. Volatility of oil prices. Fluctuations in oil prices affected the stability of the global economy and financial markets. 3. Political risks. Dependence on oil exporting countries created political risks and conflicts. Petrodollar's strength and the dollar ensured its steady demand in the global market. Thus, the dollar retained its leading position in the global economy. Imagine that all the important resources in the world are sold only for your currency. This gives enormous power and control. Chapter 5. Financial centers and international loans. Over time, the dollar became not only the primary means of international trade, but also the main tool in financial operations. Many countries began taking loans in dollars, and major international transactions were conducted in this currency. This led to the dollar becoming the key currency in the global economy, and its influence continued to grow. Today, about 60% of all global currency reserves are held in dollars. This makes the dollar the most popular and influential currency in the world. Imagine playing the most popular game in the world, and your currency is the only one used by all players. let's take a closer look at how the dollar became the main currency in financial operations and what it means for the global economy. Many countries began taking loans in dollars, and major international transactions were conducted in this currency. Why did this happen? 1. Dollar stability. The dollar was stable and reliable, making it attractive to borrowers and investors. 2. Global availability. The dollar was widely distributed and easily accessible, making it easy to use in international transactions. 3. Low interest rates. The US offered low interest rates on dollar loans, making them attractive to other countries. Consequences of international loans and transactions in dollars. 1. Strengthening the dollar. Growing demand for dollars helped strengthen its position in the global market. 2. Dollar dependence. Countries that took loans in dollars became dependent on the dollar's exchange rate and US economic policy. 3. Financial market volatility. Fluctuations in the dollar's exchange rate affected the stability of financial markets and other countries' economies. Today, about 60% of all global currency reserves are held in dollars. This makes the dollar the most popular and influential currency in the world. Imagine playing the most popular game in the world, and your currency is the only one used by all players. Subscribe to our channel and click the bell so you don't miss new episodes. Conclusion: great deception or smart move. So, the dollar indeed conquered the world. This was the result of smart economic moves and strategic decisions made by the US. The introduction of the gold standard, the creation of the Bretton Woods system, the abandonment of gold, and the creation of the petrodollar system. All these steps helped the dollar become the world's main currency. But let's not forget the negative consequences. The dependence of other countries on the dollar created many problems and challenges. For example, a crisis in one country can affect the entire global economy. It's like one failed game affecting all players worldwide. What do you think? Was this a great deception or a smart move? Write your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching our videos. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with your friends. See you next time.